How good to see you again so soon, Mr. Wick.
Name on the account?
John Wick. Please get this man a gun.
I'll kill them all.
Of course you will.
The movie opens with John Wick chasing down Abram Tarasov, Vigo's brother, to reclaim his stolen Ford Mustang. Tarasov quickly orders his men to prepare for John's arrival. One of his henchmen, overconfident, mocks John and claims he can take him down alone. He asks Tarasov if they're risking everything for a car. Tarasov replies that it's not just any car, it's John Wick's car. He even suggests just giving John the car, but the boss warns him who they're dealing with, reminding him that John killed his nephew, his brother, and dozens of their men over a car and a puppy. The henchman then suggests they should kill John. Tarasov responds by describing John as a man of focus, commitment, and pure willpower, mentioning how he once killed 3 men with a pencil. He emphasizes that John isn't just any killer. He's John Wick, a figure deeply respected in the criminal world for his skill and determination. Before Tarasov can complete his evacuation, John arrives and announces his attack to Tarasov with a phone call. John tracks down his Ford Mustang to Tarasov's location. In a brutal rampage, he takes down all of Tarasov's men. But damages his beloved car in the process. Despite his wrath, John spares Tarasov's life after Tarasov promises to leave him alone. John accepts the peace offer and returns home, where he buries the items that tie him to his past as a hitman, determined to live a quiet life as a widower. A few days later, Aurelio visits John's house to assess the Mustang's damage, noting it will take some time to fix it. John once more buries the tools of his violent past in his basement, indicating his retirement. In the evening, crime boss Santino D'Antonio visits John. He asks John to return to his old life and offers him a job. Santino reminds John that he helped him complete an impossible task, which allowed John to retire and marry Helen. In return, John swore to a marker, a blood oath medallion representing an unbreakable vow. Santino presents the marker to demand John's services. The Santino family is a powerful mafia family, with Santino's father as a major figure in the crime world and a high-table member, a council of 12 top crime bosses who oversee all continental hotels worldwide. Despite this, John refuses, saying he has decided to leave his old life behind.
This is your blood. If you don't do this, you know the consequences.
I'm sorry.
Unhappy with the rejection, Santino attacks John's house with a grenade launcher. John survives, but, with his home destroyed, heads to the Continental Hotel in New York City with his dog. John seeks help and advice from Winston, who reminds him that rejecting the marker would break 2 unbreakable underworld rules: no killing on continental grounds and honoring every marker. Realizing he has no other option,
I just said no.
2 rules that cannot be broken, Jonathan. No blood on continental grounds and every marker must be honored.
John reluctantly accepts and meets with Santino. Without delay, Santino gets to business, asking John to kill his sister Gianna. Santino envies his sister because she is set to take a seat at the high table, a position their father deemed her more worthy of. Driven by his desire for that power, Santino wants her eliminated. John agrees to the mission, and Santino assigns his bodyguard Eris to monitor John's progress. John retrieves some gear from storage, travels to Rome, and checks in at the Rome branch of the Continental Hotel, where Jules, the manager, welcomes him warmly. Next, John visits a tailor shop exclusively for assassins. They design bulletproof clothing to aid those working in the criminal underworld. Now, John needs to find Gianna, so he visits a contact to get a blueprint of her location. This will help him understand the various entry and exit points. To prepare for the mission, John stops by a regular weapon shop where the shopkeeper, familiar with John's legendary reputation, knows exactly what weapons will suit him. That night, John infiltrates Gianna's coronation for her seat at the high table and confronts her in a dressing room. Knowing her fate, Gianna chooses to end her own life by slitting her wrists. As she dies, John fulfills the marker by shooting her in the head. On his way out, Gianna's bodyguard, Cashin, spots John and realizes he was sent to kill her. Cashin immediately attacks, and the two engage in a fierce shootout. John escapes from Cashin and his henchmen and flees to the catacombs. There, Ares, the woman Santino assigned to watch him, betrays him. She and the henchmen plan to kill John to tie up loose ends. After John kills most of them, Cashin chases him again, and they engage in a fierce shootout, leading them to the lobby of the Continental Hotel. Since the hotel prohibits conducting any business on its grounds, John and Cashin stop, fighting out of respect for the rules. They head to the bar and share a drink, where John explains his reason for assassinating Gianna. Despite knowing Santino is behind her death, Cashin still vows to kill John, promising him a quick death out of professional respect.
You killed my ward, someone I was close to. An eye for an eye, John. You know how it goes.
Later, back in his room, John gets a call from Santino, who explains that he understands if John feels angry and insists that avenging his sister is a duty. Frustrated, John hangs up on him. The next day, John checks out of Rome's Continental Hotel and heads back to New York City. Meanwhile, Santino places a $7 million contract on John's life, claiming it's to avenge his sister. The contract reaches top assassins worldwide, many of whom are lured by the massive payout. Santino meets with Winston, who asks for a blood oath to release John, but Santino insists that John has already fulfilled his obligation and no longer owes him. Santino then assures Winston that John will be killed upon returning to New York. Winston warns Santino that he's made a grave mistake by betraying John, saying he's pushed John back into the life he had just left behind. Winston reminds Santino that John is now free of the marker and will return for revenge. Santino keeps warning John Wick about the consequences of his actions, but John doesn't take the warning seriously. Santino feels confident that John won't be able to reach him or kill him.
You have no idea what's coming.
I had every right.
And now, he's coming again.
Meanwhile, John arrives in New York City, immediately greeted by assassins aiming for the $7 million bounty on his head. As he walks through the city, he faces relentless attacks, but as a top assassin himself, he fights back fiercely. He encounters a heavy-set assassin and manages to kill him with a shot to the head. At a subway station, another attacker strikes, but John kills him with a pencil. Continuing through the subway, he runs into Cashin, and the two exchange gunfire using silencers to avoid panic in the crowd. Their battle quickly turns physical, leading to a brutal fight where John ultimately stabs Cashin in the aorta, leaving Cashin's fate uncertain. Seriously injured himself, John approaches a beggar, gives him a gold coin, and asks for help. The beggar helps John, allowing him to make his way out. Still needing assistance, John seeks out the underground crime boss known as the Bowery King. One of the Bowery King's men treats John's injuries. John then asks the Bowery King to help locate Santino, requesting that he use his network to find Santino's whereabouts and also provide him with weapons. The Bowery King questions why he should help. John argues that if Santino secures a seat at the high table, the Bowery King will lose his position and resources, unable to control his networks. Realizing John's points, the Bowery King becomes intrigued by John's plan to kill a member of the high table. He agrees to help, handing John a gun with 7 bullets, one for each million of the contracts, and directs him to an art museum where Santino is hosting a gala.
Kimber 1911, 45 ACP. 7-round capacity. He's at the museum. Earl will guide you.
John finds himself in a tough spot after acquiring a weapon with only 7 bullets and information about Santino's location. He heads straight to the museum and starts taking out Santino's men. As he chases Santino through the museum, he kills the remaining henchmen. However, Santino gets lucky when his mute security enforcer, Ares, arrives, allowing Santino to escape. John quickly finishes off the rest of Santino's henchmen before facing Ares in hand-to-hand combat. They engage in a brutal fight, and John ultimately kills Ares. Meanwhile, Santino escapes to the Continental, believing he will be safe there, as no killing is allowed inside. Confident in his safety, Santino thinks John won't reach him. After some time, John arrives at the Continental and asks Sharon where to find Santino, having endured a lot in the past few days. John is covered in blood and wounds, but he remains determined to get things done his way. Sharon doesn't want to anger John, so she tells him where to find Santino. Santino is at the Continental Lounge with Winston. When John arrives, Winston warns him not to act rashly by killing Santino in the Continental, as he will face consequences. Meanwhile, Santino appears relaxed, enjoying his meal, confident that John won't kill him in the lounge. However, John is fed up with Santino. Santino destroyed his house and forced him back into a life he wanted to leave behind. Enough is enough. Ignoring Winston's warning, John kills Santino and quickly leaves. He goes to his old house and reminisces about the time he spent there with his late wife. He remembers the beautiful times he spent there with his loving wife. The next day, Sharon visits John and takes him to a park to meet Winston. Since John broke the rules of the Continental, he must face the consequences. Winston informs him that the High Table has doubled the contract to kill John and made it a global offer due to his killing of Santino on Continental grounds. Winston declares John excommunicado, cutting off all his access and privileges to underworld resources. John points out that everyone around them is an assassin ready to kill him. However, Winston delays the announcement of John's excommunication by 1 hour to give him a head start and gives him a marker for future use. John then tells Winston to inform them that whoever comes, he will kill them all. Winston replies, "Of course you will." After that, John leaves with his dog.
Whoever comes, whoever it is, I'll kill them all.
Of course you will.
Winston makes a call to activate John's excommunication in 1 hour. As the contract activates and phones start ringing around him, John begins to run. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more amazing videos. See you next time.